All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're going to start with a brief opening statement from Coach, and then we'll take questions. As you normally do, just come around, or raise your hand, and we'll come around and talk later when we have the time allotted. Coach?
First of all, hats off to Coach Freeze. That was a wonderful game. That's a good football team, and we were fortunate to win the game. We're excited about our non-conference start at 3-1. We're disappointed about the one blemish, but we're excited where we're at, and now we're ready to start ACC play, and we're going to see how it goes. Questions?
We'll start, Mark, back. We'll start with there, and then come down in front.
Coach, can you talk about the quarterback situation? And you mentioned Saturday, you thought Garrett would start again this Saturday. What did you see when you looked at the film from him, and how good do you feel about the way that's going?
Well, we won the game, which is the most important thing. There was a lot of people playing besides the quarterbacks. The one thing I thought that Garrett did a decent job in the run game, but the passing game needs to improve.
Is that simple fix with the passing game? Or do you see signs that he can do that?
Nothing's simple. Everything's complex, but we're going to work at it as hard as we can.
We're going to go Brent and Steven.
Coach, you're always adjusting game plans based on opponent, but it feels like what you said Saturday night, you're going to be even more flexible than usual. You're going to adapt this offense even more than normal. Can you kind of expand on what you said Saturday about kind of reading the situation and making the game plan based on?
I think as coaches, you need to try to put your guys in the best situation to win. Sometimes you can adjust and come up with different game plans, and sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not. If we're not successful, you guys get to blow me up in media. If we are, I expect a little leniency so that we can move on to the next week and give you another opportunity to do that.
So I kind of wanted to, go back to how you view the quarterback situation. You talked about starter reliever in the past. Do you see Garrett's the starter and Tommy's the reliever, or is it now, depending on the game plan, either of these guys could be the starter and either of those guys could be the reliever?
I think the one thing I told those guys is whoever plays the best in the previous game is going to get the start. Now, I get to decide, no one else does. But since Garrett played the entire game, Garrett's going to get the start. But I need to have the ability to play all these guys on this team, and I will play them the way I see fit.
So, to follow up, I asked you kind of how you talked to Tommy about it, just because we've talked to Tommy throughout the fall. Coming out of the end of camp, he thought he created separation. He said that. And then he said he thought he did everything he needed to do after the Rutgers game. So obviously here's a guy who is confident in his abilities and started for you the last 2 years. How do you broach that? I've got to imagine there's, more than just a quick talk to kind of set the table moving forward.
It's a private conversation. I'm going to keep my side quiet. You have the opportunity to talk to him about his side.
Would that be, have you sat down with him aside from,
Yes, I have.
Tommy and Garrett together before the game? You sat down with him one-on-one since then?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Chris and then Dean.
Kind of like you touched a little bit about what Frank asked, but you mentioned after the game, I split the reps 50-50 heading into that week because I didn't know who I was going to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to split the reps 50-50 to keep them both kind of prepared, or does Garrett get the starters reps this week because he goes into the game as the starter?
Both the quarterbacks have already been sat down, talked to exactly how the reps are going to be. If they want to share that with you, that's up to them.
Coach, how do you think Deuce Chestnut has progressed through 4 games this season?
I think he's had some growing. He's had some growing pains, which is, we already knew that. When you're a freshman and you're on the corner, they're going to keep it hot. And as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, he's going to get beat sometimes, and then sometimes it's going to be less, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a really good corner that people can't throw at that hopefully stays around a lot longer than the last 3. But when they're ready to go and they have an opportunity to get drafted in the top 3 rounds, they need to go. I'll be the first one to tell them that.
Coach, can you talk about the offensive line's play against Liberty? A lot of high snaps, botch snaps. How do you go about addressing those in practice?
That was really unusual because you're talking about a very, very steady player, someone that's got more starts than anybody around here. And, when it was going on during the game, I literally was trying to think back to every snap that he's ever – I don't think he's ever had 4 bad snaps totaled throughout his entire career. Now, somebody do the math on it for me and let me know. But for him to have, I want to say there was 4 in the same game. Now that's some analytics right there. Yeah, I've never seen that. So I consider that a happening, and I don't expect we're going to see it again.
Is he still going to be center on Saturday?
We have the ability to play a lot of guys at a lot of positions, and we build up flexibility so we have the ability to move them around and put them in the best position for us to have a chance to win. That was on one breath.
Coach, going back to Deuce Chestnut in the corners, it looked like Malik Willis had more success with his receivers down the field in the second half. Do you think that was fatigue on your guys, or was there something on tape that you saw?
No, they ran some really good routes. One of the routes they ran so good that I made our wide receiver coach take it and show it to our wide receivers. I mean, they ran some really good routes versus some young cats. It was good training tape, it really was.
So my timeline's right here. I think Tuck would have been one of the last, Sean Tucker, would have been one of the last guys you did an in-home with or hosted before the pandemic hit with the 2020 class. Is there?
Can't remember.
But is there anything that stood out to you about the in-home or when him and Sam were up here about, I mean, is he who you thought he was in terms of like his workman-like approach, his demeanor being very business-like? Is he kind of who you thought he was when you recruited?
Tucker's one of those guys, you better be really funny to get him to smile. I mean, you better be Candy or somebody. I mean, I thought I put some really good funny stuff out around him, and he's no emotion whatsoever. He's one of those guys that's just really steady. He keeps everything really close to the vest. But inside, he really enjoys it. There's a volcano in there. But on the outside, you just don't really get to see much of it. You know, I actually saw him do something after a touchdown. I want to say in this game, and it was like the first time that I literally noticed him doing something that kind of said, you know, maybe it was Syracuse, maybe it was him, I don't know, but it was just, hey, kind of look at me. I was like, well, I think that's the first time I've ever seen him do that. He is a very, very humble guy, and I'm really happy for his success right now.
Did he outline the goals he wanted to accomplish throughout his career with you?
He didn't do that with me. If he's done, maybe he's done it with his father or somebody else, but he hasn't done that with me.
Do you see him enjoying the attention?
I don't know. I'm telling you, like, what you see is what I get too. I mean, I really don't know. I really believe he likes it, but you know, I might lose my chips too. You know, I believe he likes it, but he doesn't show much.
Well, one more, and this is the one that probably can't be answered, but do you think he would have eventually worked his way onto the field to the capacity that he is had the coach deal not hit?
Here's the biggest thing about athletes, okay? First of all, they have to believe in themselves, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will believe in you. And then if you're really, really good, you shouldn't have to tell anybody. Everybody else is going to tell it for you. The really, really good ones don't have to say a word. Everybody around them will tell them how good he is. And Sean Tucker doesn't speak very much, but everybody knows.
Coach, can you comment on the status of Jarvin Howard?
He is no longer on my football team, so we only talk about guys on the team.
Did he give you a reason as to why?
He's no longer on the football team, and I only speak about guys on the team.
Fair enough. Can I also ask about Deuce Chestnut? I know he was on campus in January, February. What did his kind of coming a semester early do for him in terms of adapting and learning the playbook, and also just adapting on campus?
Put him in the same situation as Andre Cisco, who came in early, and other guys that come in early. There's a language barrier from football team to football team with defensive terminology and offensive terminology. And when you're a naturally skilled athlete, the one thing you don't want to do out on the football field is think. All you want to do is react. So by coming in January, you get to handle that language barrier, so to speak. You get to figure out what college is all about, know where your classes are, know how to get to your classes, study hall. You get into your routine so that when you get here in the spring and then you go through the summer, you're also 6 months ahead in the weight development because you didn't wait until after your high school graduation. And then when you go into camp, you know the guys on the team. You feel a lot more comfortable when you start competing for that job. You start in the spring, but you solidify what's going to happen in the fall. So I think it's an easier path if you plan on playing early to come in January.
So your defense on Friday night played at a very high level with 6 sacks and a forced fumble. Can you just comment about how you felt your defense played?
Oh, I thought they played outstanding. Which is one of the reasons why you want to make sure you play to a defense like that and you don't take opportunities away from them. But, their goal line stance, the way they were, that quarterback is good. You guys don't. He's really, really good. I'd be very surprised if anybody plays that well against him again this year, especially now that he's motivated even more to make sure it never happens. And I've been in college football a long time, and there was a lot of pro scouts there. Now, I hope they came to watch some Orange guys too, but there was a lot of guys going there to watch Willis, and he's a fabulous player, and I know that Coach Freeze does a heck of a job, and they're going to get that thing back on track, and they're going to make a lot of noise before this is all said and done. That's a football team that probably be in the top 25 had we not won the game. Okay, so that win, it may not seem like a big win to some people here, but that was a big win. Good question.
Mark and then Steven.
I want to go back to Sean Tucker and just get your thoughts on the 44 debate that's going on. Is that something that you're thinking about or considering?
Yeah, it's considering. It's not mine to consider. The 44 guys have to consider it. But to me, it's something that we've got to see. Okay, we've just got done with Liberty. We're going into ACC competition. It's the same thing that I said earlier. I don't want to be redundant, but if you're asking me this question 4 weeks from now, I may have a big old smile on my face. You know what I mean? He's got 4 games against ACC competition. We're 3-1 in the first quarter of the season. We got 2 quarters of the season left. We do really good. They'll get some icing on the cake at the end, but we've got to play it 1 game at a time. So I hope you're asking me this, 4 games from now. That'll be really exciting.
You talked about his humility. What do you think that would mean to him?
I didn't get the one.
What do you think that would mean to him? You talked about how humble he is. How do you think he'd respond to that?
I think that if the guys, and I don't mean me, and I don't mean if the 44 guys voted him in to wear it, I think based off of his personality, that he'd probably wear it with a lot of pride. It's not something for me to give. It's not mine to give. I don't think it's for the medias to give. I think Jim Brown and Conrad and those guys get together and they decide that thing. Now, once again, I may not get a vote in that because that may be way above my head, but that's the way I would do it. Let those guys look at him. I'll pull tape together, and if they think he's worthy, then let them vote on him. And to me, that's the way it should be done forever. But I don't always get an opinion.
Steven and Calvin.
2 quick ones on the offense. Is Luke Benson close to getting back?
He's moving around at practice. I can't tell you when he's going to be green light go, but he's moving around.
Was there a chance that he was actually going to play against Liberty?
Okay, he's moving around in practice. I don't know when he's going to be green light go, but he will be back someday.
Okay.
Maybe not today, but someday he'll be back.
I think it's the Florida State game. I think you kind of have to expect them to play in the box and try and take away the run based on what you did. How are you approaching the passing game this week? And I guess maybe the opportunities that could be there.
We're looking at that. Obviously you don't want to be one-sided. You want to be, two-sided where you can have an opportunity to do this or that. We feel like we had some throwing opportunities in the game that did not connect. But the other thing is, if you're really, really good at something, you can do it uphill and still be successful. It just depends on how really good you're at.
Do you think you're that good at?
I don't know. I do not know. I really don't.
Calvin and Mike.
Coach, I spoke to Kingsley Jonathan last week, and he said the reason you guys lost to Liberty last year was because you didn't play Syracuse football. Could you define Syracuse football for me?
Playing together as a team, not caring who gets the credit, because the entire family gets to go on the plane happy or come back on the plane sad.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Steven said about the running pass game, with so much attention on Sean Tucker, what does a guy like Taj Harris and McWillie got to do to get more involved in offense?
Shoot, all they got to do is do what they're doing. I mean, they're going to have opportunities. We had an opportunity with Taj open on the right sideline. We didn't hit him with the ball. We had an opportunity with Damian on the left sideline. We didn't hit him with the ball. Okay, I mean, there's going to be opportunities out there.
Few more, we'll start back to the video.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to ask you about Michael and his,
I couldn't hear him.
What's impressed you?
Mike who?
You know, just how he goes about his leadership in the locker room.
Pretty kill.
I still didn't get it. So, okay, I get you, Nate. Go ahead, tell me. Tell me. Who?
Jones.
Mikael Jones. Okay, go ahead.
Just wanted to ask what's impressed you about his player development and how he goes about carrying his leadership in the locker room.
Mikael is like a graduate assistant coach. I mean, when I'm walking through and I'm looking at coaches watching tape, I'll walk by a room and Mikael is in there watching tape with players on the team telling them what to look at. I mean, that was just last week for the Liberty game, but it's been like that for every week. You know, he's very, very professional, very, very serious about how he goes about his work, and he's working like he wants to be a pro someday. That's what pro guys do. They get paid a lot of money to be professional, and he has that attitude right now in college.
Tommy?
Hey, Coach.
Tall.
We saw Georgia Tech beat North Carolina over the weekend. We saw Clemson go down for the second time. What's your impression of the conference as you head into conference play?
The crazy thing is you got to see him, and I was still watching tape on other stuff. So good games? Were they good games, Tommy?
I guess that's subjective, but I mean...
So they get to ask me questions, and I can't answer with subjective.
North Carolina was close, but it's tighter than expectations from the preseason heading into this. Do you see this as an opportunity to take advantage as your team's 3-1?
You know, I don't. To me, we're going to play it one game at a time, and every game is different. I mean, the game we just played Saturday could have ended up a different way, all based on analytics, on whether you go for it, don't go for it. The decisions made in the game are going to decide who wins and loses, whether they're positive or negative, or whether people second guess them after you make them. Okay, that's just part of the business. It's going to be a tight conference run, and more important than probably the decisions is how healthy you stay. If you take the wrong hits at the wrong positions, just like last year, your whole team can change. And when do you play those teams? When do they get healthy? How is the COVID bug going to play into this? Are you going to lose 2-3 guys at a position? Are guys going to be able to practice? The Liberty game, we had guys, because they did not have any COVID, but we had guys missing practice just because they were sick. But then they were still responsible for a full days of work when they weren't on the football field. That stuff is serious, and all that stuff ties into how you game plan and the things that you want to do subjectively.
Last two, we'll start with Steve and then go to Brandon.
So I know you weren't able to see everything Garrett could do in fall camp, but you saw him throw a lot of footballs, certainly. How would you characterize his performance against Liberty compared to the average day? Was that a good day for him throwing the ball, a bad day, about kind of what you'd expect?
I've seen him throw the ball better. It was not a good day throwing the ball.
That's what I figured. We saw him play against Albany and a few drives against Rutgers. Like, do you feel like he's capable of doing the things in the vertical passing game that you guys probably need to do to keep defensive balanced? Like
I said, we're gonna work with him, okay, and we're gonna see how he goes. But he's thrown the ball better than what he did in that game. He's thrown the ball better than that,
Sure.
And I think he even said that after the game.
He did. Is it just a matter of like accuracy? Are you trying to work mechanics in at the same time as like scheme stuff? Like, what are you kind of leaning?
You know, he's a bigger guy than that, you guys. I mean, the guy, I don't know, maybe he was nervous starting in the dome. I don't know the answer to it. Okay, but we'll find out. We'll find out.
Last question to Brandon.
Coach, I just wanted to clarify, is Chris Elmore eligible to play this week?
I'm not going to answer that question because I don't think it's my right to answer the question.
He indicated on social media that could be back this week.
I believe you. You guys have a good day.